We've got an action-packed live stream for you. We're going to be tackling some of our favorite features inside Ableton Live. And we're not going to cover every single feature. We're just going to show off stuff that we like or that we were kind of attracted to. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to introduce everybody quickly here. We have Kevin. Jamie, your name's messing me up.
I know. I just tried to fix it, but I can't. Right?
Is it because you clicked on Kevin's link? Is that why it says Kevin?
It must be, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. That's cool. Well, we've got two Kevins. One's a real Kevin and one's a fake Kevin. And the fake Kevin is Jamie Blake from Washington State. What's up, Jamie? And then we've got Kevin Ma from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And then we've got Gabe Fortuna from Calgary, Alberta. What's up, Gabe? Jason Spaniew, all the way from the beautiful city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He's going to be sharing with us. So we've got some heavy guns, some heavy hitters today. And they're going to be sharing their favorite features in Live 11. So the first, what we're going to do, just to give you some parameters, if you have questions, if you're on Zoom, throw those in the Q&A section, and we will answer those at appropriate times. It's pretty casual, this stream, so throw those in the Q&A section if you're on Zoom. If you're on Facebook, throw those in the comments. I will be monitoring those and getting those to the appropriate person, or to be able just to answer those. So let's get going. We've got who's up first, did I say? Jamie. Fake Kevin is up first. Jamie Blake from Washington State. Jamie, yeah, why don't you take the lead here and you walk us through, maybe explain what you're going to go through, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, sounds good. Gabe, if you want to pause the beautiful, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for the intro, Mitch. So let me switch over to Ableton real quick. We've had the pleasure of beta testing this for a little while now, so it's really cool to be able to talk about it. And today I'm going to show one of my favorite creative tricks, and it's using arguably one of the bigger features in the update. This is a concept called comping. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, in a traditional sense, you would use comping when you're recording, say, a vocalist. So you would loop like a part of the verse, and then you could go in and select certain words from take 1 or take 3 and make like a Frankenstein version. So I'm going to do a similar, well, not a similar, I'm going to use comping today to create a unique melody. So on this melody track, I've got a little chain set up that cycles between 3 different instruments. So I'm going to hit play on the beat, and I'll just solo, or I guess cycle through these different instruments so you can hear what they sound like. And then I'm going to record the audio from this onto a new track and make like a Frankenstein version of all my different instruments. So let's just take a listen to what I'm working with real quick. Okay, so I've got 3 different textures. It's like a sine wave on this operator. There's a vocal sample on this middle track, and then there's this kind of bendy synth from Omnisphere. So let me move my video out of the way. So I've got my melody track routed into this audio track that I'm calling melody comp. So I'm going to arm this to record. Got my monitoring off because I don't want to hear it twice. And I'm going to hit record, and I'm going to let it just cycle through maybe 3 or 4 times. And you're going to start to see these take lanes show up. It's going to be the same looking audio clip, but it's actually like a new take. So every time it loops, it creates a new take. So I'm going to hit record, and then I'm just going to start tweaking, cycling through my different instruments, making some changes to the effects, and it's going to record all of that. So let's hit go. Okay, so I've got some weird little iterations of that, right? Sorry, let me turn that feedback down. Turn that off. Okay, so if I look at my melody comp track, I've got 4 take lanes. If you don't see the take lanes, you can right click and say show take lanes. You can also do Alt Command U, and that will show you your different takes. So now what I can do, I'll go ahead and solo this up for a sec so we can really hear what's going on, is if I hit B, now I've got my pencil tool, my draw tool, I can just click and drag and select different takes. So now it's going to cycle between my different iterations that I recorded. And you can see up here at the top that it's cutting it into my comp up at the top. This is called a comp. So yeah, I'll just go through here, maybe just arbitrarily select different sections, make sure I'm clicking a little more exactly. And yeah, now if I take a listen, it's going to just automatically cut between these. It's kind of like a Hocket workflow. So it's the same melody that I played, right? It follows the same musical information, but now I'm just cycling between those different textures that I had going. So now I have just instantly a little more interesting of a melody part. So after doing this yesterday, actually, because I was, trying to get a creative idea going for this presentation, I had the thought of, well, what if I didn't record audio to make a comp? What if I actually just made some take lanes and dropped in some loops and I did the same thing? So let's do that with some percussion. And if you right click right now, I have show take lanes, but there aren't any take lanes. So in order to do this, I first need to hit record and then just record for a split second. And now I have a take lane. Once I have a take lane, I can go in and I can insert more take lanes. So let's do like 4 of them. And I'm gonna delete this. And I'm gonna go into my browser and I'm just gonna pull in some percussion loops and just drop them into these take lanes. So that's something that's pretty unique that, at least when I've done comping in other softwares, I never thought to do this, but just because of the way Ableton is, it lends itself really well to creative production hacks like this. So let's find just another couple percussion loops. That's a cool one. Pull that in, lengthen it. It's fine. 2 more. That's a good one. Let's pull that in. And 1 more. That's a good one. Okay. So now, exact same idea as I did with my recording. I'm going to use my draw tool and I'm going to cycle between these. So maybe we'll go here and we'll go here. And watch up here. This is the comp. Every time I make a selection, it's going to pop up to the top and it's going to be my new comp. Okay, so go through here, making my comp. Cool. Maybe we'll grab this. And of course, you could be really methodical with this and really intentional. I'm a fan of kind of just painting with broad strokes and then dialing it back in after the fact. But yeah, you could use this to suit your workflow. Let's get this and that. I'm getting used to my new trackball mouse, so I need to get my speed up. Okay, here we go. Let's take a listen to this percussion just by itself. Okay, and then let's pull it in with the mix. Okay, so to me, like, I would use this. Like, that's just instant vibes to me because it's just interesting. You know, it's something I would have never come up with without this technique. So to me, this is a creative tool the same way an instrument is a creative tool. You know, it's really leveraging the software as an instrument because this is something that's unique to the process that is offered to you here. So yeah, that's one of my favorite things. There's obviously a lot of other awesome features that we're going to get into with the rest of the guys, but let me see the Q&A here if there's any questions anybody has. So the take lanes can be as type of a dummy clip. Yeah, somewhat. I guess you could think of it like that. Normally, when I think of dummy clips, I think of a blank MIDI clip that's used to just control effects or something like that, or make something happen, but there's actually no sound coming from it. So I guess I would need a little more clarification on your question, Matt. But yeah. All right. Any other questions anybody has? All right. Oh, we got one more in the Q&A. Oh, it just didn't go away. Okay, well that's me. I think up next we got Kev. Is that right?
The other Kevin.
Okay,
Kevin
yeah, other Kevin.
The real Kevin.
The real Kevin. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Jamie. That was dope.
That sounded dope, Jamie. Dig that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, very cool. I'm going to be incorporating it. That hack to do the recording to make the take lane thing, that's been driving me nuts. So that's a good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Get my screen shared. Yeah, so great question from Matt. Is it like a dummy clip? It's more like a smart clip. Haha. But can you guys hear me? I'm still muted. No, I'm on? Okay, cool. Is my screen on? You guys can see my screen?
We can see your screen, but for some reason we're still seeing fake Kevin.
Oh, okay. On
Kevin,
the video.
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah, Jamie, maybe mute your video.
Check.
You gotta go and say unpin video, or you can probably pin from yours, whoever the host is. The 3 little dots. So I guess fake Kevin would do that.
Yeah, try sharing your screen now, Kevin.
Yeah, I'll unshare it and reshare it. There we go.
Yeah.
Check 1 2. I don't know about me doing a microphone check what that does, but can you see my screen? Can you hear a metronome?
Yep.
Can you see live and stock version? Awesome. Cool. Well, let me start. I'm going to get right in. And first, I have to, just kind of bring you in. My name's Kevin, by the way. Mitch introduced us. I'm from Vancouver. I'm a certified trainer. I'm really stoked to be hanging around with Jason, Gabe, Mitch, and all of you guys. Jamie, Kevin number 2. But yesterday, I was going to set an hour to pick my topic. And we were all going to pick a topic. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I had a really hard time picking my topic. And one of the reasons is, oh man, there's so many awesome topics. We got follow, we got improvements everywhere, we got new devices, take comping. That was one of my first guesses. So Live 11 coming with so much made it really hard for me to pick. And then also because of who I am, I just was overthinking it to hell. So I wanted to show it all in 11 minutes or in 10 minutes, 11 of my favorite things in a Live 11 in 11 minutes. That was, my stupid thought. But instead, I kind of picked around and I took a journey through a lot of my favorite features and kind of rated them. And I was thinking, what am I going to show? And I thought, hey, I'm going to walk you guys through what I was doing yesterday, going through, picking out some of my favorite features in Live 11, things that blew my mind. And things that are subtle, but that I know are going to improve my workflow and make working in live so much better. So let's get started. And one of the subtle things that I think is a huge improvement is right here in our browser. There we go. So really quickly in the browser, I'll point out that we got categories in our audio effects. Things are laid out nice and clear. I love that. I used to go hunting for my favorite Macs devices, but the ones that we need and we use are included right in the library now, like the Macs envelope, and even even some of the effects are going to pop up everywhere. So like I noticed the decay drum devices and so on. So I really think the library has got a great overhaul. I mean, it's not a fancy feature, but it's something we use so much. Again, grooves right here. Our groove pool is right there. And then, if you're a workflow person and you want to be able to get going really quickly, saving these templates, editing your templates, this is all amazing stuff. So that was my first thought, but a presentation without music is never fun, is it? So I thought that maybe I would start with a template and show you my first thought. My first thought was drums, build some drums, show off probability. let's do that with a dramatic. Let's show off probability and velocity, velocity range scaling. So I pulled out one of my favorite drum kits. I'm an old school guy, so I'm rocking the DMX kit. Let's turn that up a bit. Here we go. And then I'll show you down here some of the magic that we have added in Live 11. So check this out. Right here, we have a velocity range. If I want, you know, this snare to have a range of velocity, I want it to hit anywhere between where it is and 77, 85, or hit louder, I can easily dial in a range. You can grab any of your MIDI notes and kind of have some different ranges. So my thought was, you know, it might be cool to get this pattern come into life a bit. It's a 1 bar, but with some velocity ranges and some different volumes. Let's get that snare. Let's get that last snare a bit up. There we go. Immediately a 1 bar loop starts coming to life. We get some chances with the volume. That's only velocity. Probability, hands up for probability. I think this was so fun for me to mess around with probability. Here we can have a chance that these notes actually hit. There we go. So my little 30-second notes there, maybe I want those to happen roughly 40, 50% of the time. We got a lot of hats there in a row, so maybe I'm going to make it so it happens every once in a while. Maybe that one. There we go. And, you know, some of the features that immediately jumped out at me are the popular hitters, like the probability here, velocity over here, scale snapping. That's, I think, a heavy hitter feature. People are going to really love that. But some of the features that speak to me are the simple, subtle things. So, like, I'll just spend a minute. Check this out. Alt 1. There we go. Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3. I love these new hotkeys. That's so simple, but it's going to spend us so much time going between our clip tabs right there. And I think that's a huge improvement that's worth noting. So, you know, I was like, okay, MIDI, probability, that's option 1. That was one of the things on my mind. And that's a lot of fun. But, you know, a demo with just the drum is cool, but I wanted to go a bit further. And me being really into sound design, here's me using my browser again, by the way. Hands up to the browser. Me being, you know, really into synths and sound design and programming different sounds, my next option that I was thinking was to check out, there we go. Let me give you a dramatic pause here to check out one of my other new features that I had seen and heard about and read. And there we go. New improvements to the macros in the racks. I love this. We can have as many macros as we desire, or macro knobs up to 16, I should say. There we go. So 16 knobs, sometimes 2 or 1 is all we need, but sometimes being able to go to 16. In this case, I got fallen in love with analog all over again. I was able to map both oscillators on their own row and just having way more control than I would normally have in my rack. So I love doing this for sound design. It allows me to make some chords, tweak with my chords, but also save variations. So this is probably the new way I'm going to work from here on out, building my favorite devices, things I love, things that I'm falling in love again with, like analog and operator and wavetable, but getting new life out of them by mapping new controls and having, you know, these variations as presets within a preset. So I had to add a bass to that, and then here we did the same thing. I did something similar with wavetable. There we go. But not just that, being able to have several basses at my option. And by the way, some of these later ones were used by the randomization. So randomization with these knobs. There we go. That's pretty gnarly sound, but I'm going to save it anyways. We got our variation. So as to make a bass line, maybe the original. Being able to flip. Be able to flip between different patches and settings of the patches, maybe different songs in a set or maybe different sections in a song. That's really going to come to life. So this gave me awesome use of wavetable, mapping things I normally wouldn't map if I only had 8 knobs. So sticking away, I got one patch for, you know, bass and leads. I flipped it to poly. There we go, because in poly mode, this would be a great brass kind of sound, and so on. So we made the same sort of thing here with wavetable. The same thing except for polyphony's on here. Pretty awesome. Check it out. Featuring the new phaser. Love the new look of these new devices and so on. So that's kind of where I was yesterday. And then, you know, as any time, I think, can you guys relate? You boot up Ableton with a task. I'm going to make sounds. I'm going to think of my demo. I'm going to pick my favorite feature. And then I got in my head, I was overthinking. I was like, I was at that point where I was like, I have back to square one. I have no idea what I'm going to do at this point. So, you know, something I do, I don't know why this is my safe spot, but I just pulled out operator. Maybe because I had analog, I gave some love to analog. I gave some love to wavetable. I was like, oh yeah, operator is one of my another thing that I love. So I wanted to check out operator. Made a little glass piano. Oh, wrong channel. Let's go to channel 6. There we go. What a great kind of 80s glassy piano. Great sound to check out our new phaser, which has some new modes like doubler. Let's drop in the chorus. In its new mode vibrato, notice the new warmth control there. There we go. And then I got a bit carried away. One of the newest devices to hit our beta channel was the pitch loop device, which blew my mind again. Let's start from scratch and reset some stuff. So I just want to get rid of some of the stuff that's happening. Pitch loop, amazing. I had some reverb there that I just took off. But, you know, this echo, let me just show you a couple of my favorite features in pitch loop. Reverse echoes, hell yeah. How about some lo-fi? Let's lower the resolution to 5K. Oh, those grains sound awesome. Some feedback. 120% feedback, you're gonna love that. But also, being able to freeze, being able to play with the pitch of each tap, shift up, by the way, shift up and shift down, work on these knobs. I love that trick. There we go. Dry wet and some damping. And then, yeah, hybrid reverb. There we go. Let's get rid of that loop. So, that was a really long decay. I think we've all been here before where you get stuck in sound design and you start, okay, I need to sober up my ears. That was crazy. I was lost. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just playing around with echoes and it sounds awesome, but a little... Oh, I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. So I was lost. I was looking for my answer. What's my favorite Ableton feature? And then I think in a mess of echoes, some spectral stuff, some hybrid reverb, it came to me. It was clear. It was clear that, you know, I'm getting lost in sound design. It was clear that I should keep working on my demo. I should make something that sounds cool. Let's reuse that wavetable. There we go. Let's get a riff in the mix. There we go. Let's do some tracking. There we go. So on the next step, I wanted to, you know, try the vocal comping. And I knew that Jamie was going to do this, so I didn't really want to make it a part of my demo, but I wanted to just have something in my demo using the browser and showing how, you notice how I'm grabbing all the tracks that I need from this one ALS. That one ALS, oops, I shouldn't have double clicked it. But that one ALS, I can expand it and look at all the tracks. I can go get the vocals or what's in my instruments. and pretty much recreate the jam that I had going on last night. And so on, it sounded pretty good in my head. So I'm going to try to put it together for you guys. We'll play it. We'll hear all these parts together. There we go. We did some vocal comping. There we go. It's my take comping. Let's show my takes. There we go. Show take lanes. There we go. Or Alt U. There's my takes. I did fly my vocals over there. Get rid of that. So at that point, I got the epiphany. There was one feature that was on the list. Gabe sent me a list of all the features to check out. And I thought I checked them all out, and I did. But there was one that I overlooked. And there was one that was maybe the most simple feature, and I think a lot of us might have been right in front of us the whole time. This feature is all there. So I'm wondering if anybody is going to guess what this feature is. It's not vocal comping. That's an awesome feature. This is my desert island feature. I want all these features. They're all dope. But if I could pick one feature that I couldn't live without, let me just count my tracks there. Yeah, this is the feature I can't live without. There we go. The dramatic, the slow. Bam. And I'll scroll down even lower. Check it out. All my music is in one view. My MIDI editor. So the linking of the MIDI editors, to me, it's a feature that you see on paper, but it's not like comping takes or putting on effects. It's something that's there when you're working on music. And my new epiphany is this window for me should be full screened. I should always be looking at the music that's making the sounds and looking for, hey, I looked at my chords and I'm questioning some of my moves. I think later on I could tighten some of that up. Maybe it's given funk, or maybe it's given some notes that need to be addressed. So being able to zoom in, not only can I edit and pick these pieces separately, there's a synth, there's a bass, and there's a hi-hat. So I can move all these sounds and pick them, audition them separately, and work on them in one window. This is the one feature that's going to make my music better, make me faster when I'm editing, and make me, I like it when my parts talk to each other. My drums are doing something there on bar 5. I want my bass to react or get out of the way. So I think, yeah, it took me a while to come down to it, but this is the feature that I wanted to talk about and show. It got me so excited, actually, that I had to comp some takes and sing about my favorite software. How meta is that? So let me just get this set up. I'll play you a little beat. There we go. And we'll hear all you guys want to hear all these pieces together? Yeah, is that an option? So all stock. We got some DMX. We got some analog. We got some wavetable. And definitely using some chorus. Featuring on my room reverb, I got small room. We're using the new hybrid convolution reverb, an old favorite echo. I guess it's kind of new. Version 10 stuff is kind of new. There we go. So let's check this out. And I think the last thing I need, one more thing from my library. Let's give myself a little lead to noodle around on. So here's a little operator patch I'm working on, which is basically a sawtooth. With some vibrato and some hybrid reverb. Hybrid reverb is going to bring this to life. So here we go. Let's check this out. Last minute check. So I have everything right. Do I have everything right? There we go. Yeah, let's go. Wish me luck, guys.
Yeah.
And then I have to end with the hybrid reverb again because I love that tail. So
What were you singing, Kev? What was the lyrics?
I'm in heaven with Live 11. Couldn't think of some lyrics, and yeah, so how meta, I thought I'd sing to my favorite software. I am a fanboy, and you know, so many new features. I really did fall in love again with my old features, you know, things that we take for granted, like analog and wavetable, or just opening an ALS and grabbing tracks. So that was me messing around with Ableton Live 11 yesterday. I was supposed to make a demo for you, Mitch, but I ended up making a little jam and having some fun along the way. So I hope that was an interesting story for you guys. Right.
That was great. Thanks, Kev. Great work, Kev. Love it. I think that should be the title of our next workshop. I'm in heaven with Live 11. I'm in heaven.
Live 11. My name is Kevin. Yeah, that works.
Oh yeah, why didn't you get Kevin in there? My name is Kevin.
I should have thought of that. Maybe I have to go back and do some ad libs, some extra takes,
some comping. Yeah.
Yes, I want to see some vocal comping with that. Great work, Kev. Let's turn it over to Mr. Fortuna. Gabe, let's have you take it away, and you share a little bit of what you're loving about Live and some of your exploration.
Yeah, sure, great. Well, hold on. There we go. Is that the right view? You guys can see that? All right. Well, yeah, thanks for that. That overview, Kevin, was really inspiring. It kind of reminded me that I still need to spend a lot more time with those extra features that kind of sneak under the radar. But yeah, that multi-clip view has been upgraded for sure. Comment saying we can still see Kevin, so maybe Mitch, if you could unpin Kevin. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Sweet. So guys, I have just one feature, but it's tied to, you know, there's two parts to it. And it's about MPE. How many of you guys have heard of MPE? I think I saw a comment saying MPE. I wonder how that's going to be. I want to check it out. I'm curious. Well, let me show you why MPE is more than just about the controllers. A lot of people right now are, you know, they're very excited, and I gotta say, I love working with the Seaboard controller, but it's not the only reason why Live 11 is now better. It's not just because it supports the controller, but let's see, I'll play a little patch here. And actually, let me play the real MPE patch. So I'm able to pitch bend and add pressure changes to each sound by merely interacting with the controller. But what's really cool about this is that a lot of what Live has done, or Ableton has done in this version of Live, is not just being facilitating how you can record and play with MPE instruments. Right now I'm playing with an instrument called Equator. This is provided by Roly, but there are many MPE capable synths. Not, to be honest, most of the plugins out there are not MPE compatible, but Ableton Live's sampler and simpler and wavetable have been upgraded to support MPE. Oh, and let's just change the voices here. Let's see. So there's a little vocal pad I made. And maybe turn that down a little bit. And you can just, so I basically sampled my voice and then put it into a sampler, and now I can bend my voice with a controller, which is pretty neat. But let's switch it over now to Live and see how this affects the music that we're making. I have a track here, and I'm a big fan of strings. I love, you know, violins and cellos and string orchestras and quartets, but a common challenge with a lot of these sounds is that they lack expression, or they lack the expression that you need. So sometimes you might have a staccato sound that you pull up from a plugin like Native Instruments Contact. So they might have some sustained sounds like this. Let's see. And then I can switch to another preset essentially, and now I have staccato. Okay, and I could switch to a different preset. but it actually lacks control. And, you know, more modern plugins by Spitfire and even Native Instruments themselves have gotten better at this to give you more control. But I'm going to show you how we can take this type of boring string sound. Oh, and let's maybe reset that to sustain, something like this. These are classic strings, nothing wrong with them. But if we check out the Mpe strings that I made earlier, check this out. Now you may have heard some pitch bending, some swell, some natural crescendos. And, you know, for a lot of musicians who come from the more classical world, they often struggle. How do you add crescendo with MIDI? It's, you know, you have to use a filter, or you have to use some kind of other modulation that affects all your notes. So let me explain how this works. Let's flip back real quick to the Rolly here. So Mpe Midi works by essentially splitting every single note that you play. It splits it into a different MIDI channel. So when I play a low C, that low C is being sent on a certain channel, and then I can play maybe another high C. But because they're being sent on different channels, I can pitch bend and add pressure and more modulation to them. You can really hear that kind of droning at the bottom, right? So let me show you then how you might use this in the real world if you don't have a controller, because most of us who still don't have an Mpe capable controller may not be able to record it. You know, you can record all this information, and it's very lovely the way Ableton Live implemented this Mpe feature. But I want to start by showing you how I like to think about chords and what we call voicings and traditional music composition, because it's kind of frustrating how when you have these chord progressions, they're really simple, they're really pretty, but when they switch between one chord to another, the only way to sort of blend in perfectly between chords is by doing a fade in and a fade out, and it just creates this messy piece of music in the middle. I'm not sure how well you can hear that, but there's like a bit of like a muddiness happening in the middle right here. And there's, you know, lots of ways you can manage that and work around that, but let me show you how Mpe Midi now changes that. So I'm going to copy this. This is, the MIDI patch that's playing with Contact. So this is not Mpe. And I'm going to copy this into an Mpe capable instrument like Equator. Now, it has a similar patch. All right, so I haven't done anything too crazy just yet. But here's what I'd like to do. I would like for each note in here to be assigned to essentially an instrument or a voice. Imagine if you have 3 people singing in your choir. Each person has to sing at one of the notes in those chords. And when they're, you know, singing each note, it's going to sound different as they, you know, transition from one note to the other. Maybe they express a little bit different. Maybe they emphasize the beginning or the endings a little bit differently. And you can do this now in Ableton Live by going to the Note Expression tab. So there's a little new tab here. Notice there's Notes, Envelopes for Automation, and now there's a new Note Expression. And this is where Live has implemented the Mpe creation and editing component for your MIDI. So let's say I had this C note and I wanted to pitch bend down to my B. I could actually do that independently of, again, the other notes. And you can kind of see where this is going if you do the same to that.
That's
Do the
dope.
same.
Just by the way, that's dope. Gary.
Yeah. So this is called, what I'm trying to do here is called voice leading, but this is voice leading like to the microtonal level where you can really control which notes are going into which notes of the following chords. So you could do something like this. And you might smooth that out. You maybe use something like an S curve like this and maybe move that out a bit so it's not so kind of jarring. I could do the same here. And we'll do one more at the bottom. And I'll show you my... So what gets me excited about this is that I don't have to rely on note beginnings anymore, like at all. So see, right there, I did a little pitch bend. Every note bends into the next note of the chord. But there's that initial attack again, that kind of clang, clang. And I don't want that. So I don't need it. In fact, I could delete those notes and simply continue all these notes. And in fact, I'll just do it this way so it's a little faster. There we go. So now it looks like I'm playing...
That's dope!
So now it looks like I'm playing an F minor chord, which, by the way, yes, you can now see flats and sharps and decide which ones you'd like to look at. And now, actually, this F minor chord is changing into an E flat, G, B flat, so it's an E flat major chord. Oh, and actually, I have a little stray down here. I forgot about this one. It's a little low note. But yeah, so you can kind of see how now your MIDI notes don't even matter. It's all about changing frequency and controlling where you want those pitches to go. Do you want them to go up? Do you want them to go down? And just kind of keeping track of all of this. Yeah, it can be a challenge if you're not, super experienced with MIDI editing, but the more you practice, the better you'll get. And I'm just really excited because I think this is a super, super powerful feature. I won't do the whole chord progression just for the sake of time, but let's just do a little bit of pressure now. So let's add a crescendo into this. Let's make it really sound awesome. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom of Live of the Note Expression Editor. There's a couple new buttons. There's something called Slide, one's called Pressure, and there's regular velocity as well as release velocity. Now I won't get into release velocity or slide, but I'll do pressure. Pressure is essentially kind of like intensity. Do you want more intensity in your sound or less? Typically you would map this in your synthesizer or sampler. But what I want to start with is selecting all my notes. I want them all to start at almost nothing. So I'm gonna also grab that stray, start way down, so almost start at nothing. And I'm gonna have each note fade in differently. So with the pressure automation, I can essentially add little breakpoints. And I can decide, okay, I want that high C, I want this to fade in gently right until that, gets to that pitch bend. So maybe around here, and then I'll do another one over here that goes up. And I could save a little bit of time. I have to be careful because, again, we are working with the beta, and I've had a couple crashes still, so there are some bugs, not perfect, but you can copy your pressure sensitivity, or sorry, automation, and paste it somewhere else. So let's say, we grab this one from the C, we paste it in the A, and now it wouldn't be any fun if they have the exact same expression, of course. So now that's where I can maybe make a little change. Let's delay that a little bit and maybe lower the intensity. I'll do the same down here, paste, add some changes, and let's turn off the grid, make it a bit more free. So now you're really controlling the expression of every single note. I know it may seem like a lot of work as well. Like you might be thinking, oh, geez, that takes a long time to get that type of sound. But I mean, we're also talking about trying to emulate and express a string orchestra, right? Like we're trying to imitate how a string orchestra behaves. So it will take some time to add that little finesse. Definitely a little cheaper than hiring my violinist friend to come in. Oh, and you can also add some nice little, just subtle, gentle vibrato, something like that. And we'll take a listen. So here we go. And I think I might even have to change the pressure a little bit, but you guys kind of see the gist of it. It's a little bit of tweaking until you get the right sound. But I am just so excited to release like the ultimate expressive EP and not have to worry so much about playing. Again, there's a lot of talk about the Mpe Midi, you gotta get an Mpe controller, you have to get this thing, and it is really helpful to see how you work with the keyboard, how you work with something like the Linstrument. I know Jamie has a Linstrument, but it can also be a complete challenge learning how to play an instrument like this, and it's great for coming up with ideas, but now we have the opportunity to refine those ideas with live and really express whatever you'd like. So yeah, that's all I have, guys. I'll play you a little bit of what it might sound like in this track, I guess. Let's see if we do this, and we'll just duplicate. Here we go. It's funny, it looks like we have one single chord going throughout because we bent the pitch of each note.
Nice work, Gabe. That was great.
Oh, dope.
Awesome, thank you.
Well done.
Pass over the screen.
Regarding Mpe, does what are the other MIDI controllers that have that capability? Is it just the Roly, or is that what are some of the other controllers out there?
Right. So there's Roly Seaboard. So there's the Roly Seaboard, the Roly Blocks. There's also the Linstrument that has a couple different sizes as well. So there's a smaller one and a bigger one. There's the Hack-In Continuum. And what else is there? Any other? Oh, Kevin's. Yes, got the.
I don't know if it's supported. I don't know if it's official, but it's cheap and it works for me. Plug and play.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
What's that? That's the MIDI step or the MIDI key, the key step or something?
Q Nexus by Keith McMillan. They have a cheaper one that doesn't do the slides, and I think that's just called the key step. Or yeah, it's the $200 one called Q Nexus by Keith McMillan.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. There's a variety of them. I think the most accessible one right now might be the Roly Blocks. It's a little square. It's a tiny square. You just pick that up and you can use it like a push and play scales or drums with it.
That's awesome. And I'm just looking at the questions. I think we answered them. You're able to draw. You don't need a Roly, correct? Like you could go in like you did and program it in afterwards, right? So
totally, yeah. And to be honest, like I think a lot of the times I'll end up just experimenting with what I can do with the precision you have with a pencil in Ableton Live versus the precision I might have with my fingers is going to be very different, right?
Yeah, that's cool. Let's move on to our finalist. Last but not least, the one we've all been waiting for, Mr. Jason Spaniew. Jace, what I'm going to try to make you. I don't understand the difference between pin and spotlight in Zoom, but
yeah,
I don't know.
There we go. I'm spotlighted. Hey, that's me. I'm going to share my screen here, and let's get nerdy. Make sure we've got that happening. Can y'all hear this?
Yep.
All right.
Take it away, bro.
Cool. So I love playing live, with live. I've kind of made a cool career out of helping other people play live with live. And most of the time, everyone's like, let's go play live. You know what I mean? They're so scared. And, you know, the whole idea of like, yo, it's been around for 20 years. People have been playing live with this on stage for many of those years. And it's sort of changed the word. It's got the name live in it, guys. Okay. So, but every time I see people playing with it live, it's always like, you know, when you go out and play live a few times, you probably, your first few times doing it kind of sucked, that you weren't so good. Then you notice that everyone else saw you sucking and you don't want to do it. So you want to just stay in the safe lane. You want to stay in the, you know, easy controlled, you know, nothing too weird. And that's fine, because again, most of the time people in bands are playing with live and using Ableton either as the featured instrument or as an accompanied you know, background sort of embellishment of what they're playing. But it's always been, I've noticed so many people just been afraid to use it, right? We'll make songs with it, we'll do all this other stuff with it, we'll go on stage with it, but even then it's just hit play and let's hope it stays on, right? And that's a fear that comes from you know, everyone has probably had a computer have a problem somewhere there. But I'm always one to try and push it as far as it can go, and it can go pretty far and you have to worry about it. So for me, my favorite feature has to do with the implementation of, well, it's something that's been around for a long time. They're called follow actions. And essentially they're like little functions that occur at the end of a clip or at a decided point in time that you choose. And that function will tell the clip to play another clip below it or jump to somewhere random in a cluster, or there's lots of really neat ways to use this this function. So here you go. Every clip, you can basically just touch any of these and you can see that I can set up what's called a follow action. And they've changed the view. It was actually buried in the launch mode in the older versions, but now it's here in the clip. But you have to actually hit the little triangle thingy to bring yourself there. And what's neat is you can go in and make, you know, I was just poking around with making some tracks here and you know, different elements. I would basically start off with like, let's say like a lead idea, and then copy it a bunch of times and change a couple, see the little variations of those notes in each of these clips. They're all a little different. And by using this legato feature, I'm able to jump in between clips and have them maintain, I guess, the temporal status, like where they would have been in the other clip's timeline, but it's jumping into a new clip rather than starting at the beginning of each clip when I do it. So I'm able to play around with skipping between a group of clips. Let me just like play this one little cluster here. You can see it's just gonna, you see that it's sort of randomly just jumping around and it's doing all this. That's because I've clustered all of these together. And when you group edit things, you can change the parameters of all of them. Oh, that didn't correct. Okay, good. But you can group edit things and it'll change the parameters of all of the elements that are in selection, right? So I've selected them to kind of have a random choice. And then also there's a slider which gives us the ability to blend between two different sets of actions that could occur, right? So this is kind of nerdy. This is like the end product here. You can sort of see if I jump around, like on my congas track, I put a bunch of conga tracks in there and it's jumping around. And this one's kind of looking like it's just going down a list in time, but basically you can see there's a blend between going down to the next clip in the order and also just going to other. And other is a way of doing a randomized function, but also skipping anything that's already played until all of them have played once, and then it'll go back and play them, play each selection again, right? So really neat ways to get your set to start playing itself. And in this particular demo, I set it up in a really neat way where I basically was able to play with some elements I wanted to play the same all the time. Others I wanted to be able to have their own little clusters. And incidentally, it's pretty easy. I'm just going down to here. These ones haven't been done yet. All I have to do is say, highlight all of these, and I right click and I can create a follow action chain. And that skips a bunch of steps where I would have to go select all of them, turn them all on, get the follow actions going. This way I just go, bam, you see they kind of get into this like shredded little play meter icon. And now that will mean that they're all at least formatted to be able to play in a follow action chain. And that then is my choice to decide how I want to do it, how I want them to play. The default is they'll play until the end of their clip length once and then do whatever the choice was. And again, that's up to whether or not there's a probability of one of these elements, these actions happening versus another. But I can also unlink them from the rule that says do it at the end of the clip. But basically now you can actually highlight these all, and I can dial down to like maybe like 1 beat or like 1.5 beats, some really weird number. But by hitting, if I hit, okay, this is kind of it's a really heady thing to get into. But if I don't have legato on, every time it jumps around to a clip, it will play the beginning of the next clip. And I don't want that because it's always it'll take me out of the musical phrase I was in. And if I leave it on legato, it sort of links the phrases of these elements together in a unified, cohesive timeline jump. So it's like jumping around with a needle on a record, but always landing in beat 3 or beat 4 or beat 5 or whatever, right? Rather than always restarting, right? So initially, I wanted to show a little bit something a bit different. And actually, I'm probably just going to switch into that right now. But this is a really awesome feature that brings live to life. And you can also just, you could do this on the scenes as well, on the master track. So you'll notice that was the coolest thing, because usually you can set up all these things and they're going, but if stuff's in session mode, it's really up till now been up to you to drive it musically and have it even just jump through the sections. But now I can come in and right click or just double click into any of these scenes, and this view comes up on the bottom left, and I can actually turn on a follow action for that particular scene or any other one. And likewise, I can highlight, I can highlight a bunch of them, shift and click between them, and then right click and then turn on follow action by hitting this. Actually, yeah, follow action will turn them all on, right? So so in the first follow action, I said wait 16 bars and then play the next bit. So let me just do this now. So we're still lingering in scene 5. I think this is like bar 8, 2, 3, 4, and then we have another whole section of that. So it's just gonna happen. And you can still see all these other things are wigging off, and they're doing their own little patterns and probabilities of what they'll do to coming up on the switch. And that's gonna go for 8 bars, right? Because now we can see this scene has a rule of 8, right? And then it's gonna hit the next one, which is 1 bar, 1 bar, 1 bar, and we're coming up to this next one, and that introduces a new function called jump. And when you pick the jump follow action, jump lets you pick which scene it will jump to. So now if I hit jump, I'm going to jump to scene number 19. So if I play this one up here again, 1 bar later, it hits the next scene, which should jump me to bar 9. Oh yeah, scene 19. So that's super, super cool. And you can just basically hit the record button and come over here and get up and walk away and make yourself some tea and have a tea and watch live play itself to a spot where you like it. And then a really cool feature, oh my God, is you can actually hit this button over here and it'll pause all of the follow actions where they were. Now you notice nothing's skipping around, right? So I can be like, hey, yeah, I'm capture this for a while in this mood. And when I'm ready, I'll turn back that on and I'll jump here again. And it picks up. And live will start freaking out. And I can jump around even if I want to over here. right. So that's super wicked, awesome, fresh. And it's a nice way of just getting live to do some stuff for you while you maybe fold your laundry or you're on stage. Yeah, you're doing something live on stage. You picked up a guitar to play along with something and you hit all your follow actions to engage, or maybe a blob of your live show that actually has a bunch of follow actions that are ready to take over. So you can actually go tie your shoes or do anything else while you're on stage instead of freaking out, right? I just wanted to show one more thing because I have a little time here, I think. I'm gonna do the other version of how I was gonna show this whole follow action thing. And it has to do a little bit more with something that I think Kevin touched on, which was the probabilities idea. So as soon as I saw the probabilities idea and the enhanced workflow with the follow actions, my brain was like, oh my God, I want to do something really cool. I play live a lot. I have like a whole setup over here that's just a bunch of iPads and my live system, and that's cool. And I wanted to be able to figure out how to sneak in Live 11 on like another computer as like an extra just something cool and neat. And I always find I could always just use more drums because I make dance music and I need a little bit more extra stuff. So my idea was I want to create a, let's say like just a drum machine that kind of plays itself, right? And I would do that by just maybe like making a quick little pattern here. So I've got like an 808, just gonna, slam in some ideas here. And I'll probably make it very busy. I got a lot of lag, but here we go. Okay, so it's kind of borderline an obnoxious pattern already. I probably really wouldn't go too crazy with this, but what I would probably like to do is figure out a way to unpack this very busy pattern and visit it with a couple different versions of what it could be. So my workflow would be take this pattern, duplicate it, play around with some of these elements. Every once in a while, like duplicate some stuff or get a little weird. Not too sure how nutty this will probably sound here, but I could probably get just a little just freaky here. Let me just do this stuff here. Bum, 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 bum. And then duplicate some of these and select all and quantize them all. Yeah, okay, cool. Right. And what I really want to do is give myself a couple different different iterations of this just to start with. All right. And let me just grab a couple extra kicks here and there. Maybe I'll just kill some other ones. So there's a little bit of flavor in between these patterns, and, just trying to do this pretty fast and not any sort of ideas, just to get a little barfy. Okay, bear with me because this is kind of a neat little workflow. Kill these guys. Cool. All right, so I've got a few ideas here. And one feature that's been around in live forever is the ability to extract elements from a drum rack, extract a chain, right? So if I just come over here, you see all these different elements, kick, different elements here, like that, that's that. Okay, so if I go to each one of them, I right click on the header in the little drum mixer here. I can grab the rim, extract the chain, and I just want to keep doing this over and over again until I've kind of unpacked my drum machine. Now, see these guys, I can probably do a group of them. So I'm going to extract the chains and, all right, cool. Extract chains. So now I've got, what it does, and when it extracts the chain is it makes a clip and a private little drum machine of only what you've extracted. So this is like an empty drum machine, but each of the clips have their patterns in there as well. Like this is only by itself there, but if I go to the kicks, you'll see the kicks there. And for each of them, right? Cool. So now the next choice is, yeah, dude, we're going to select all of these guys and we're going to create a follow action chain for all of them. Yes, that's cool. I'm going to open up my little thingy here. I'm going to maybe unlink them and make the patterns change every like half bar. And then I'm going to hit legato, and I want them to go down, but also be random and have it sort of be a split in between all of those. So if I hit play now, these guys should Okay, that's cool. And then just a little bit of work. Like we've been looking at, this is like, we're the nerdy, crazy, super, guys here. So we're going to probably do weirder workflows than someone may, but let's just check this out here. I have all of these ideas and I can come into them and start playing around with that velocity and also the probability rule for each of these clips. So if I take a few seconds, I'm going to go down each of these. I'll probably leave my kicks alone because I want them always going to be there, but I probably would pick this sort of ghost note kick I've got here and maybe not have it happen every once in a while. But for the most part, I'm going to go on all my other ones and see this one doesn't really have any, the rim shot's pretty empty. That's cool. Ugh. You can see the idea here. When I hit my hi-hats, I can start playing around with drawing in kind of like a spazzy version of like, just something weird. And I'm not really putting too much thought into this, but I want to just play around with just going through each of these clips and messing with the probabilities that any of them will play. And if I did this with a little more rhyme and reason and I wasn't sort of under the gun to do it, you guys would probably be like, oh, that's nuts, right? So here we go. Let's just do this. I've done it a bunch of times on all my clips here. Maybe these guys don't really have to happen. And you can start thinking like, wow, maybe I wouldn't be so abstract. Maybe I would probably only focus on the last little bits of each bar. So I would have a bit more of like inflection on fills. So let's check this out. Here we go. I'll just do that with these guys here. So that's a neat way of just getting your drum machine to play itself. And again, when you're like, oh, I like that. Now I hit that stop button and I'm back at that one spot that lingers and doesn't let the follow actions kind of do their thing, right? And then I'll pick it up again and re-trigger them and they'll all do their own thing again. And then freeze it where it was. Anyways, this follow action stuff also works really well with audio loops, and a neat way of getting ideas to sort of play themselves would be just grabbing, a whole bunch of, let's say I've got some loops and samples and junk in here. And again, I was doing that with the congas, same idea. I pull this in here. They're all selected, so I can right click and say create follow action. I will unlink them and have them sort of do their thing in a smaller time frame, but maybe not so symmetrical, and have them go any and then next and play with that range. When I play these guys now, and you see what I'm doing. All right, so that's my those are the things that blew my mind about live, plus all the other stuff we've been looking at, because it's quite intense. And I look forward to showing all of you guys more in future sort of iterations of how we teach here at the Beat Drop. Yeah.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Thanks, Jace. That was dope. Yeah, it's crazy, hey, how much we can get into the automation of creating. It's almost like AI, like music in an AI form in terms of just setting up rules and setting up parameters and then just seeing what happens. And I love the fact that you can just quickly record, go back and sample yourself, and be able to pick those out and then use the comping tools to comp some of those things together, and basically sampling yourself and coming up with happy accidents. To me, in music, the happy accidents are it's massive when you are creating, and those are the things that you're like, yes. And I think the more opportunities we can have to create happy accidents, the better. So great work, all of you guys.
Absolutely.
Any other comments, you guys? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
James.
yeah, no, I just wanted to add, like, I love how this version of Live gives you more control over your notes with something like note expression, and then you don't have to do that at all if you just want to do these crazy follow action things. Like it's kind of like a bit of both worlds, like if you're a control freak or if you just like to experiment and be just more free, kind of like what is that old Nietzsche philosophy, the chaos and order dichotomy.
Makes me think most of the times less is more, but every once in a while, more is more. And it's one of those
Totally.
exceptions that more is more.
Well, that's Jason's. I think that's Jason's T-shirt he wears every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't even know. More is more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions? Sorry, in the Q&A, nothing particular. Anything else that jumped out at you guys that we didn't really cover that you were really excited about?
Oh, you know what?
Are you
One
asking
thing,
us or? Oh yeah, go ahead, Jason.
one thing I didn't really show either is this new ability Live has to follow other music. So, and that's what I was playing around with. And the whole point of making my little drum machine is that it's very simple. Let me go back to sharing the screen real quick here. There's a button now at the top left called follow. And I have to kind of turn it on by having audio input selected. But in our link, yeah. So when that's on, it's called tempo follower, and I can pick an actual audio channel like any of the ones that are on my audio interface. Or if I was even crazy enough, I could do it like an internal thing, and I could just listen to like music and have Live catch the tempo and be in sync to anything that's playing. And it was initially designed to be playing for bands and drums and stuff, but you can designate any song or any sound source as a follower input now, and Live will DJ to it and keep your stuff in sync. And it does a really good job of it. This is something that's been released a few years ago, and it's been incorporated into the fold of Ableton's API. And it's a really awesome way of doing it. It's not set up to show you guys right now, but that's one of the more, oh my God, every DJ on the planet has been figuring out how to do some weird stuff, either by beat mixing with Live and getting it going, or doing some weird MIDI link sync thing that's happening between like Tractor and all this. It's always just been a hodgepodge of, again, I don't know if it's gonna work, right? But this is pretty stable now. And one of the coolest features is to be able to just designate any other source of input and have that be the thing that set the tempo and stuff. So yeah, that's sort of, yeah.
I like to look at features and think of other ways to use simple features. And although I don't jam with drummers too much, I think some people commented we now have like a tempo following effects machine. If you do dummy clips and you like to process audio, you got an effects device that follows the tempo of a source.
Yeah.
And another one I thought of is in the comp lanes. For anybody who's not comping vocals, or that's maybe not your thing, it could be an alternate track, like baseline option B is in the second lane and it matches variation B. I see myself using take lanes for things, simple things like that all the time. Be like, oh, what's my favorite? Which is going to be the bass for this track?
I think another thing I wanted to mention, share my screen real fast, is you can now have different templates for different things. So there's a whole area, like if you have one where you just want to paint with broad strokes and kind of go crazy with some randomness, or you have one with particular instrument setup, whatever, suits your needs, I'm definitely going to be using that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Question from the gallery. Do you think with MPE now in Ableton, more MPE controllers will be available? Does the push too? Does the push have pressure? Sensitivity?
So what's weird is that the push actually supports polyphonic aftertouch, which is essentially pressure. And I believe they are working on integrating this a little bit better for Live 11. But for previous versions like Live 10, you had polyphonic aftertouch, but the devices weren't set up to do that. Yeah. In regards to other manufacturers, yeah, there's probably going to be, a couple companies. I'm not even sure which ones, but I mean, I could imagine someone like Native Instruments, if they already got all these keyboard controllers and stuff, maybe they'll do something like that. Or maybe Korg. Korg likes to do wacky stuff, so who knows?
Because the Spitfire stuff they announced, that's not out yet, right? That's
right.
Not available yet, but it will be in the final release.
Why that intrigues me is typically when I use a lot of Spitfire instruments in my composing work, and I'm always using basically just two controllers, MIDI controllers, and to adjust expression or sustain or whatever like that. So that makes me really interesting in a Rolly now, and the fact that it's an Ableton to be able to do that without having to use another slider. And then most of the time I'd go and automate that in to adjust the playing so that the sounds sound cool. So yeah, that's really
Oh,
exciting.
it's very it's very detailed. And you can edit it. You know, if you make a mistake, you can edit it later, and it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Anyone else have any other stuff that you were stoked on that we didn't cover?
That's probably
Spectral effects.
Spectral. I was just gonna say, yeah, spectral delay, spectral resonator, dude. I was in my demo. I just didn't show any of it, but yeah.
And hybrid, the hybrid reverb. I mean, you know, using the old convolution reverb, I found a lot of the Max devices, it would be a bit of a hunting game and a bit of search. And if I didn't have in my collections, I would forget about it before I went and found it. But having the IR built in, the impulse responses right in convolution, and then the algorithms to match it, it's quite a unique new reverb, the hybrid reverb. So I'm loving that.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Max saying it's to go. No worries, Max. Sorry,
you guys got to take off. Go take off. Yeah, there's.
Were you going to read that question from?
Yeah. If you guys need to take off, you guys go ahead, take off. This isn't. It's just a free, fun jam. So, Kyle, what's up, Kyle? Which new devices are native, and which ones are Max for Live devices?
Ooh, I would say a majority of what we showed you is native. And the Pitch Loop 88 was a Max for Live device made by Robert Henke, right? That's the one that
was a Max device, yeah.
Correct, yeah. It's hard to say. I'm really suspicious. Like I don't know, not to raise any conspiracy theories or anything, but things like the hybrid reverb, they smell so much like Max for Live, but it's packaged as an Ableton device. So I'm not sure. I think that they're trying to blur the lines. I think maybe the long-term goal is just to make it one unique ecosystem that's all integrated. But based on my experience with the hybrid reverb, it just feels so much like a Max for Live iteration.
I think totally that would be my goal if I was them, is just to get rid of that whole, like, I love the concept, but it was just to blur that lines and make it more integrated and holistic. I think that's the move for sure to get there, but still keep this playground, the sandbox called Max for Live for people to create stuff. It's such a great way to have people that program and write stuff for live. Like it's so smart.
Did anyone mention the scales? I think Kevin, maybe you mentioned the scale modes.
Really quickly, yeah. I think I pointed to the button, but I was in my drum rack there, so it was like.
Can we like, for anyone who's still tuned in, like, check this out. I think this is one of the coolest things for anyone who's not into music theory. I'll share my screen in 1 second here, but this is a game changer for like most software. Sorry, I'm like so excited. I'm stumbling into my words, but essentially, let's say I have a piano, and let's turn that down a bit loud. I wanted to make a chord progression, right? I'm like, okay, well, there's my root note, and just do A minor, duplicate that a bunch, and I'm gonna make a chord progression out of this. It's like, it's gonna go A, G, F, etc. But you know what? I don't want to mess with the black notes. I don't want to have any accidentals. I want to save some time. Well, there's a new scale mode down here. It's kind of hidden on the corner, but you can toggle a scale mode, and you can say C major or A minor or whichever key you'd like to work in, and this will lock it will highlight which notes are in key, but then you can lock your editor into a scale so that every note available in here is only belonging to that scale. So now if you remember the chord formula 1 3 5, maybe make a 7th in there, and then now I can just actually, let's get rid of all these. There we go. Boom. Chord progressions.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And that links
Yeah.
with the push too. So if you've got your push set up
Correct.
and you had picked some weird scale you were working in, it's already in tune for all the new clips you start playing and editing too.
Yeah. No,
That sucks.
I'm a fan of this
now
one.
I can't do my sick tutorial on how to do that manually. They just wrecked everyone's favorite
It kind of
Ableton tutorial.
yeah. It kind of wrecked my own device. I have a device that does this exactly that I made. If I load this up, check this out. Essential MIDI. Let's check this out. Classic chords. So I made a MIDI effect that does that for me. So I just put in the root, and then plays that chord in that key.
Yeah.
But now nobody needs this because, well, I mean, you could still use it for live performance. But anyway.
Yeah, that's great. I like that.
Yep.
You still
Cool.
got to understand chord theory and chord formulas and what makes something sound good. So I like that
Definitely.
I think a lot of people are going to be stoked on that feature. So, well, great guys. We kind of jammed quite a bit. You guys did an awesome job. I'm stoked to dive deeper into it. And, if you're still kicking around, these are the guys that teach here at Beat Drop. And we've got our kids program. We've got our adult mentorship program. Kevin and Jamie are killing it in there. Jason and Gabe and Kevin are killing it in the jungle with our kids program.
Yep.
And, I'm really stoked to have these guys around leading us and instructing you guys. So if you're interested in our programs, make sure you check it out. But thanks, you guys. I think that was a great little, we might have to do a round 2 of this as we get more experience with Live 11 and show off some things that, because really, how many of you guys got this really early on, like in terms of been working on this for a while?
Yeah, I've had it maybe like 6 weeks or so, I feel like.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
you're special. You're an American. You're special because you're from the USA.
Well, the US might think that, but that doesn't make it true.
And Jason's from Toronto, so they think they're special as well.
I mean,
Toronto...
come on. We are.
That's right. Well, I appreciate you guys. You guys killed it. Anything else? Did we miss anything?
I love the whole Ableton Live heaven from Kevin is
Yeah.
Yes, dude, you gotta track that, and you gotta add the Kevin in there, man. You got
Okay.
yeah.
Like some commercial music.
Actually, the only thing I think I'd mention that I don't know how it happened, but accidentally I dropped drum bus on all my synths in that project.
Yeah.
There's drum buns on like almost every track, and like if you need a saturator, a soft source of saturation, try it. Remove the bass thing, but it's a great kind of saturator. And yeah, it was an accident that I left there, and I'll probably do that a lot more from now on. So yeah, drum bus on your synths.
Drum bus on everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, so many nuggets, so much knowledge dropping. Thanks, guys. We'll wrap it up, and
Will we be able to relink this as like a posting thing we can post for a later date, or is it like you missed it?
no, it'll just be live on the Beat Drop community group. So
Cool.
yeah, we're streaming there live, and you can link to it there. People will have to join the group, I think. But it might be on our Beat Drop page where it's kind of just free. You don't need to join anything. So
Cool.
all right, you guys. Well, you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. And if you're watching this on the replay, throw some questions down in the comments, and one of us will connect and answer those. So, all right, I'll let you guys all say goodbye, and then we'll cut you off.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace out, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for hosting this, Mitch.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Live 9, Live 10, Live 11, heaven, stay in heaven. Yeah.